Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting, the Special Finance Committee meeting to order. And there's the one item on the agenda, which is the annual property tax rates, which is set out here. Who from staff is going to address us on this? Oh, Councillor Rao.
Yes, I need to declare conflict of interest.
Okay. For the same reason as last time. Okay, so we'll excuse Councillor Rao. So, staff wish to add anything to the report? Ivy?
Mr. Chair, there are nothing else to add, but I will be here to answer any questions council may have.
Okay. Any comments or questions that anybody has? All right, someone want to move it then?
So moved.
Okay, so it's moved and seconded. Any further discussion or any discussion?
Yeah, I had my hand up.
Oh, you do? Oh, yeah, so you do. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just thank, first of all, thank staff for the thoroughness of having this document in place. It tells the real story of the tax draw. And I think this is the proper information that needs to get out to the public with the true story of what's there and why it's there. And for those that pontificated that Richmond had the highest tax increase in the lower mainland, et cetera, I think they should read this material. And I think the material should be put on the web as soon as possible so people can understand it. I'm not necessarily justifying it, but I think at least it gives the true story of what was done and how it impacts each person in the city, and it doesn't necessarily impact everybody in the same direction. So that I think it's important that this information is there. Very often, only part of the story is told. Thank you.
All right. Councillor Steves, Harold?
Talking to myself here. Thanks. I just wanted to add to what Councillor McNulty said. What's not in this report is a comparison of Richmond to other cities and a comparison to some of the things that we do that are different. One of the things that keeps our taxes lower than other cities is the 1% that we put on every year because we don't have to pay tax on borrowing loans when we have to build things. And so that keeps our taxes down. But the other thing is we started, I guess, 20 or 30 years ago, instead of letting our roads fill out with potholes and then repairing them, we started systems of doing repairs in advance. And if you go to Vancouver now, which has in some cases has lower taxes than us, you'll find the streets are potholed and bumpy, and they have to tear the whole road apart to rebuild it every time they build a road, so they simply don't do it. And I think you'll find that we have a lot more trails and community centers and other facilities than a lot of the other cities do as well. It'd be really nice if there's some way we could do that comparison, but I think Richmond stands probably as number one amongst all the cities in Metro Vancouver. So I think that, and of course, what this report shows as well is while there was a drop in housing values in 2020, those prices have gone back up. So we're coming out of the pandemic. People are getting jobs again. Some businesses won't open again because when people start working from home, they may not go to as many restaurants. Maybe some people are doing a lot more cooking at home, things like that. We can't help that if there's some changes because of the pandemic. That's got nothing to do with our tax rates. Those businesses are going to have problems when we come out of the pandemic anyway. So all in all, I think it looks like a very good tax system and tax rate, and I certainly support it.
Thank you. Councillor Wolf. Michael?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to stop at two short questions here. One was related to on page 8, the business to residential tax rate, and the comparison of ours being the lowest. And I do read in here just above the table at the bottom that it's actually 2.46, not 2.37. My two questions related to that are. the fact that it is the lowest in the region, and the other municipalities also have businesses. Is that was that part of the goal, or is this part of the outcome of the tax breakdown?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, this is just the outcome of our business rates in comparison to residential rates. So if our residential value goes up significantly, our tax rates for residential values go down. So your business to residential tax ratio is just looking at your business rate in comparison to your residential rate. So all it tells us is that our residential values are pretty high.
Great. Then seeing what the decision is today is approving the rates. So what we approve will either support or continue to get this kind of effect, this kind of ratio. I know we can't control the assessment value, but we can set the tax rates that might affect this kind of statistic. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's interesting in these pages of comparison. This one seemed to stand out. My other question related to this, or actually I guess the pages before when it talks about the different assessment class, can you clarify where's the line between a property being a business and a light industry, or a business and a heavy or a major industry? Because some, you drive by and they got the sign, they're a business, but they're doing industry work.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, BC assessment determines the assessment class based on what type of business they are and what type of how they conduct their business. So a heavy industry would be somebody with heavy equipment like Lafarge. Because of the equipment that they have, they are classed as O4. Class 05 is light manufacturing. So those are businesses where they may assemble pieces. So say a bicycle assembly plant. They may not have the big major equipment because they're not manufacturing the parts, but they may bring in a number of parts and assemble it together. Those would be considered as class 5, light industry. And class 6 business other would be the catch-all class where it's all business. So an office space, a warehouse, things where it doesn't require any equipment, those would be class 6.
And thank you. Just a follow-up to that to staff on that one. Are staff in agreement with the way that BC Assessment has that line between it being business to those other classes? Are there advocacy work on behalf of the city that would assist us in promoting the range that we're looking for?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, staff should not and cannot have any opinion on the assessment class. These classes are determined by the province and under their regulations for BC assessment as to how they determine what class these type of businesses fall under.
Then just to the chair, can I request either it can be an email, just a place where this breakdown is? Is there a clear way to see where businesses fall as a business or as an industry? Because the description is great, I appreciate that, but I think I need more examples so that I can place some Richmond locations in the different, on either side of the line. So I don't know if that needs to come in the form of a memo, or maybe there's a site or a video that has it all for me.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, I believe there is a site that has a breakdown. I can forward that to you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, if you could let us know. Okay, I'm not seeing any more hands, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. And just before we adjourn, I would like the councillors, just the councillors, with all respect, I don't need staff, just councillors, if you could stay on the Zoom call for about 5 minutes. I just got a couple things to mention to you. So, someone move adjournment?
So moved.
All right, we're now adjourned.